All right, yeah, tough series. Arkansas State gets the win. Give them credit. Thought they played really well. I thought they played their game, and so I'm not down on our guys at all. I think, those types of games, all three games, we don't play a lot of those games. Arkansas State does, okay? And so I thought, there's value in playing those, and our team can learn from that. I thought both teams played the game the right way. Not a whole bunch of extra going on. It was good to see. So a lot of respect for them. I see a lot of similarities, and they took over the same type of program. Programs were in similar spots a couple years ago, and so you can see the path that you can build. And a lot of their players, they figured out how to win those types of games. And so the big thing is we've been trying to bust through the wall on the mound, and I thought we had quality outings. That's what we've been wanting and needing, and really proud of the effort on the mound. I thought Broadnax was solid. He was in control. He worked through some traffic. We had a little bit of a hiccup there on the pickoff that allowed for the run. But again, on a Friday night when two freshmen throw like that, it's positive. It's a positive outlook on the future and what those guys can be, and the fact that Broadnax can be even better is a scary thing. It's really proud of him, and I think he's continuing to learn, and he's going to be really good for us going forward. And I thought Roark was electric, just electric. I think he was up to 94. That cutter that Coach Cox has taught him is just really playing for him, and so he's big and physical on the mound, brings a presence. We know that, and so just really high on our pitching staff after the weekend. That should be a shot in the arm. And you only use, a small amount of guys. The other guys can learn from that and get fresh and go and be ready. And so offensively, a really fast start. That's exactly what you want in the first inning. Those balls were hit very hard. I thought it might be a low-scoring game, and so right away I wanted to try to get a run with the first and third play. We do, and they allow for us, they don't get the rundown. And Blazer's there at second, and Aranda does a really good job of driving him in with two outs, and then their starter, I thought, did a good job of settling in, showing a second pitch. Wasn't even a great one, but it was enough to get us in between and really got us off that fastball the rest of the way. And so just, we had our moments. It just came down to not getting the hit. We had base runners. We were kind of applying pressure with the ABs, and we just didn't get it done. The leadoff triple with Mosey there, and was the eighth inning, and they make the change, and we just didn't have, the plan was right. We didn't execute it there against Garrison. Thought it was a really good job by him to come in and just, own the moment right there. And, Friday night battle didn't go our way. I thought our, the energy was right, the conversations were right after the game. And then the next day, again, another fast start offensively. Corley busting through. That was great to see from him. Gave us a chance to win. Hess, not sharp, but, found a way to give us a chance and got him a W. There was a bad stretch of baseball there for about 10 to 15 minutes where we had second and third and weren't able to just move the baseball. We just need to move the baseball. Didn't really need a hit, and we didn't. And then, we go out there, and next thing you know, Arkansas State has the bases loaded without moving the barrel, okay? And so tough right there, but to be able to find a way out of it. Hess gets the hit by pitch to tie the game, but he's found a way to stop it right there, and that's what we talked about. I give a lot of credit to Coach Cox and what he continues to push and try to develop these pitchers, and he is. That's why he's such a great coach, and we just need these guys to peak at the right time, and that was a little sign of it this weekend. Really good job. Hess stopping the damage right there. And then again, I think, Blazer had the homer in the first, all the way to the end. Only 2 hits on the day, 2 homers. But again, I think Micah Dean just continues to show that he can be the best player on the field all the time. Just the way he plays short, his speed element. You saw him lay down the drag yesterday. He's just a really complete player, and he's a joy to coach. And so for him to get that walk-off, not sure we deserved to win. Thought we should have won the game Friday night. And probably should have lost on Saturday. It's just crazy how the sport works. But it was good to see our guys celebrate like that. Again, I mentioned it before, but we're just not in a lot of games like that. Our team can learn from this. We lose the series, but we can. There's a lot of value in the way these games went. And then on Sunday, yesterday, they just kind of imposed their will on what they do. They're pitching below a 4. They kept us below 4. We We score early, and we got that hit with Aranda, and I thought, like, all right, we're back. That's the clutch hit that we've been needing kind of all weekend. And, man, he just did a really good job of just keeping us suffocated. Like he kind of, that starter, Farley, kind of doesn't throw strikes till he has to. And when he does, he just kind of keeps it on the edges. I thought we were taking really good. He likes to nibble, and we were taking those pitches just down and away off the plate. And we were getting in the right counts, but, then he would challenge us real quick with the wind blowing in. You saw some good swings on balls that went right to guys. I think we only struck out 4 or 5 times on the day. We just weren't imposing a lot of pressure in our ABs. Some guys had some tough weekends, but we can bounce back from that. I saw the positives where I saw a demeanor change in Dermody, like a demeanor and a mindset there in the second inning. We have a walk to lead off the game, get a double play, give up a solo homer. Solos don't kill us. He's right back in the zone. And just about halfway through that first AB, the next inning, I just saw it kind of, it was just different. It was different from Dermody, and so good. We need that. We need that on Sunday. We need him to give us a chance to win. He did more than that. Justin Robinson, tough to hit again, just really good arsenal of pitches. He's tough to hit. If he can continue to get more consistent with that confidence, those type of outings when this offense comes back, now all of a sudden we're a team that nobody wants to play. And so we can get there. Overall on the weekend, just bad. We got runners on. Saturday they gave us 10 free passes, 8 walks, 2 hit by pitch. We just didn't get. It came down to not getting the hit in the moment. But like I said, there's value in these types of games we played. Not down on this team at all. I'm really high on this group. They really care. And it was almost trying too hard to get it done, where they just need to relax and be the offense they've been for 35-plus games. We can do it. And so what we want to do is in front of us. This team's going to stay process-oriented. We'll watch some ABs today with some guys. We'll have some group work and just continue busting through. But, again, I thought we played pretty good defense for the most part. Arkansas State made plays yesterday that just kind of takes the wind out of your sail, like just great plays, took away some hits. So credit to them. I think we can learn a lot from this series, and so got to turn the page, hop on the bus tomorrow, go back to Northwestern State. We've already played this team twice, and it's just a great opportunity, to just get back on the field, away from the friendly confines of being at home, and ready to go. Like this is an important game. Number one, it's just every game is important, and two, like this team's beaten us twice, and so we need to be ready to go. It's an opportunity to get some guys on the mound that didn't pitch this weekend. Dabbs, Sheets, Cooper. I want to see those guys back on the mound again because they had good outings the last time they threw. And so, we'll be ready. The team is in a good spot. Wasn't much to say after the game. These guys know what's in front of them and what we have to do. And, we continue to say, like, our best baseball is ahead. So if you can turn the corner on the mound like we did, like we've been asking for and fighting for all year, and you mix that with what has been one of the top offenses in the Sun Belt, and our guys know that, we're going to be playing the best baseball of the season, the ebbs and the flows of the season. Like, you bust through this, you play the best baseball of the season this last month, and so that's what we're striving for, and hopefully it happens. But I want to thank the crowds. I thought we had good crowds all weekend. I want to thank the game operations, Luke Richard, Corey Crow, David Cox in the box, Don Wheeler. Like, this is great. Emma Grace, SID, Mike Hammond. Just thanks. This is we're moving in the right direction. But there's we're not satisfied, and our best baseball is hopefully ahead.
Well, as far as this weekend, not going your way, but like you said, a lot of good takeaway just from the pitching side of it after the weekend they had at App State. How valuable was that to get confidence back on that side?
Very valuable. I mean, that's how we're going to have to win, and so we need to learn how to win tight games like that, not being in them. They pitch well enough, more than enough to win. Then you take offensive, just like some average offensive performances that we've had. You look at the 2 App State games, we scored 4 runs and we scored 5 runs. When you pitch like that, those offensive performances are good enough to win. So that should be encouraging for our guys. But it was just great to see, but how hard these guys have worked, like our starters in particular, to kind of bust through these bad outings they've had, and they show up. They show up the next day. They take the coaching. They take the constructive criticism. They take, us putting our hand on their shoulder, whatever it is. Just they take it and keep going, and that's just a sign of like good players that care about where they are and care about this season. The group really cares about this school, and this. We're trying to change it here. We're taking over a last place program that hadn't been in contention this time of year, and they're working hard to just change the narrative. And it was big. It's very valuable. And if we can pitch like that going forward, I'm going to like our chances.
Grant Corley to get through the way he did to get you 6 innings, and even JC. I mean, not to dismiss Adam because he's done that. He's been a Friday guy. He's a freshman, but these are older guys, and just to see them get it going, like I said, you could see JC and just kind of click yesterday and get that confidence going again. Those two in particular, just how much you need those guys on Saturday and Sunday just to help you. So you can go all out, try to win a Friday night.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was Corley's tough to hit. He really is. He's tough to hit. I think he had 3 walks in the day, so can continue to even get better eliminating runners. But it was big. Left-handers they're different. They're tough to hit, and it was. I'm proud of those guys. I really am. And they got 4 more starts in them. Hopefully more. They can build off that, absolutely. But just to see just the demeanor, the body language, like I'm in control. They're both of them had traffic and hairy moments that they got out of. And so, I remember Saturday, I'm sitting there with Coach Cox. Do we bring Hess in now? I believe it was in the 5th inning with 2 outs, and I just felt like it was Corley's time that was his game. And to get through that moment right there, and he did. Proud of him. We've been on those guys and continue to coach them, and all they've done is, yes, sir, put their head down and go to work and respond. So it was great to see. They deserve it. I think our entire pitching staff will rally around those outings. We should be getting Clayton back here soon. Stramiska didn't throw this weekend. So if we can have 8 to 10 guys that go out there and we can really rely on, our best baseball is ahead, no doubt about it.
As far as, like you said, giving the offense to relax, how do you get guys to just relax and get back to what they're at?
I just, I don't. Probably doesn't help that we keep saying, I keep telling them like just relax and breathe and play. Like it's the ebbs and flows of the season. I know the game is hard. I know that they're killing themselves and trying their hearts out to get it done. It's got to be a point to where it clicks mentally. Like there is no try. I'm determined and gritting my teeth. And not try to do too much, Like I thought Haggy, like his swing was I thought it got rotational again this weekend, and I thought moments just kind of got to our guys. Like Micah Dean's the best player on the field, right? But the moment I thought there Friday night, and he would be the first to tell you, I'm not criticizing him, but he would just a little spit up there, swung at some balls, just trying so hard to do so much. He's such a good teammate and wants to win so badly. And so, it's not trying to make too much to happen. Our offensive philosophy is, we try to get the ball closer to us. We do not swing at balls, and we crush mistakes, and we just kind of swung at some balls there in some moments. And Jake Haggard is best when he's keeping his nose in there, eliminating rotation, and trying to drive the ball to right center. And I thought, we had the conversation. I just thought he took some swings. We're really trying to pull, and that's just not when he's his best. He's been really good all year with an approach out and over the plate, driving the ball to backside, and so he cares, and this team cares. It's a really good group, and so we just gotta get back on it, and keep hacking. We're going to sit and watch some ABs with some guys, like Dane Ray. I thought he made a good adjustment within the game yesterday. He's swinging and missing at pitches that he didn't early in the year, and without getting to the depths of it, you got to change your eyes depth-wise. And I thought he did on that last AB, and so that's something he can build off of and get back to the player that he was, and he is. And so, it's just remembering who you are and keep going about our daily work, how we do it. They're all in on the plan. Just got to remind them, like Mosey had a tough weekend. He had a tough weekend, but how's he going to respond? He will. He'll be ready to go tomorrow. No one feels worse about it than him. Okay, but we have his back. I assured him this morning. And we'll be okay.
As far as, like you said, similar spot, Arkansas State Coach Silva took over that program that's been struggling. They're a year ahead of you because he's in his 2nd year, but they've done
Yeah, I think so. We had good conversations before. Obviously we keep in touch a little bit, but they got off to a really bad start last year. I think they finished the season 2 games under 500, but they were just kind of building and instilling it, and they got into the tournament. And like I can see this team like is, we get off to a little bit better start, but it's the pitching side of it. There's nothing overpowering. What they've done a really good job of is different looks. From both sides. I thought Weimer really complimented the starter yesterday, right? So they pair guys up. They have different shapes. They don't throw strikes until they have to. When they do, it's usually on the edge, or like they go right at you and make you move the barrel. So they just do a really good job of playing clean baseball. I think they do a good job of keeping their guys physical. And they just do the fundamentals really well. I think both teams, the prep work and the batting practices before the game, I just thought it was really organized. Like they show up and do their thing off to the side. I think our BP and our prep work is extremely professional and organized, and our guys know how to do it. So there are a lot of similarities, and I think what's going for Arkansas State is they've invested right away into their baseball program, and we have the opportunity to do that here as well. But they changed their field, they changed the stadium, they put up the video board. That's going to help get players, okay? And they're putting the building in right, and I'm not asking for all that, but we need to invest in this thing and make this place a desirable place to play, and I think it is. Our players love it here, and it comes down to not being satisfied. Let's keep going, let's keep finding ways and getting creative, with the admin and the community to invest into this thing, and we can get this, where we want to go. And this is a great place to play, an incredible community. We have what we need for the most part with the stadium in terms of player development and all of this. Now it's just, how can we add on top of that? Our game day experience, all 3 games this weekend, it was great. It was great. And so, a lot of similarities. Sorry, long answer, but a lot of similarities in the program. And, we were laughing yesterday, just kind of looking at the standings, how it's all bunched up. Mike said that, these 2 schools have been at the bottom of it. We've kind of messed up the script a little bit, so to speak, but that's a good thing and a good sign. I think both schools or both programs, are going to be a force in this thing, in this conference to where it's, you don't want to play us on weekends, and that's the goal.
Finally, JMU this weekend, the team obviously below you in the standings. It seems like an opportunity at home, second to last home weekend too, before you go on the road for 2 straight. What do you know about the Dukes, and just how important is this weekend?
Yeah, well, I know that they're pretty offensive, and they're going to come in here desperate to win, and so every weekend is tough. You can't overlook anybody, but it's a great opportunity for us to, they've been giving up some runs. We need to get there and we need to be our offense again, just be ourselves. And it starts with our prep work today, our group work, and then playing tomorrow against Northwestern State. We'll just get back on the field and play. I think that's the most important thing. Last week, not having a midweek coming off the road trip, maybe this is an opportunity for our hitters to stay sharp throughout the week. Our guys didn't see, live arms Monday through Thursday, so this is what they need. Probably is what they need. But, we know JMU will be ready. I don't know much about them yet. I don't know the staff. I don't know anything. We need to play Warhawk baseball, and we'll be fine.